Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen today. I titled this message, You Wanted It All, so God let you have it. You wanted it all, so God let you have it. Now, this isn't one of those messages where we're going to run around and praise the Lord for everything that we have. I have those messages already. And Lord knows I'm grateful for opportunities over the years, in addition to some of the good things that are happening right now, in addition to some of the challenging ones as well, because I know that through every challenge, you become a stronger individual. Okay. But what I'm talking about today is that one who shows up at a workplace, at a house, joins a particular group, connects with some old friends, and offers service. And now they are overwhelmed with it all. But you wanted it though. These are the people who will complain, but you wanted me to pray about that. I know. And now you're saying you don't like it, or you don't want it, or you're going to change career direction, or you don't want to work at that particular establishment any longer. But we prayed about this. We talked about this. I know. So then what is the problem? Well, I don't want any of this any longer. So can you go to the Lord and can you talk to him about taking this burden from me? Wait a minute, but it wasn't a burden in the beginning. You never looked at it that way. What's changed? What's changed is that it's just too much. And I just like things to be a little slower, or I just don't want as much responsibility, or I just need to do something different. I don't know if I really had the support that I thought initially. Okay? I tell you, every workplace that I've prayed for, my coworkers, the managers, the supervisors, the leaders, the trainers, I always prayed that they would have better opportunity. I always prayed that they would do better. Okay, especially if they weren't doing so well in their positions. I always prayed that they would have some type of discernment that would move them out of positions because they just weren't good at them. Okay, or they got burnt out. They may have once been good, but then they got burnt out. But this one who wanted it all, okay, and there's been others like this, wanted it all, wanted more money. Okay, we prayed about that. Wanted to come back to the company. Okay, we prayed about that. Then ends up getting the position, matter of fact, a better position than he had before. I saw something in the individual's eyes that said, I don't know about this. I've got something different, something else on my mind. Okay. And what we find as believers when we're praying for people is that they bite off too much. They bite off more than what they can handle, what they can chew, right? They wanted big things and we're excited for them. And then they turn around and they say it's too much. Okay? Sometimes they'll tell us quite boldly. Sometimes they won't say anything at all. We'll ask them how they're doing. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay. Would you like me to pray for something different for you? I'm good. Okay, well, I don't want to hear the complaints then. I'm that person. I don't want to hear about everything that's wrong with what you wanted. Now, sometimes God will allow people to get all of these things without our interference, without us even praying about it. We'll be even surprised. What? You got that position? Wow, you got that money. Whoa. And then we may go to God, right, privately, wondering, how is it that they got all these things? And the Lord will remind us, as he's done for us over the years, he will remind us that there's a lesson to be learned in all this giving, in all this blessing. This person The ego gets in the way, says, I'm going to be the manager. I'm going to be the owner. I'm going to be the investor. I'm going to be the one that starts the business. I want this. And God opens up those doors. And sometimes the only way that some people will be able to understand and realize that they have some type of weakness or many weaknesses is that they have to be thrown into the fire. Uh-oh. Of course not a physical one, but there's so much activity hitting them in so many different ways, but you wanted it though. And so God says, okay, I'm not going to interfere with this thing in terms of blocking it any longer for you, because sometimes that's what he does. Not because he doesn't want us to have good things. He blocks it because he says you're not ready yet. It's like the parent who cares for the child. I'm not going to let you go and get your own place or let you go and, drive this car and that one, and I know you're not ready. I'm not going to let you stay up all hours of the night when I know that you have trouble getting up the next morning and being a functional, reasonable, logical thinking person. So there's the restrictions, there's the parameters. And so God did this for quite some time with so many people, but yet they said, I'm ready. You're ready. Yep, I'm ready. So you know that there's more to this position besides just doing paperwork or handling things across the internet or, picking up the phone. You know that not only are you going to be doing these things, but you're also going to be dealing with the traffic that's coming through the door. And not only that, you're going to have to deal with employee related types of things. And some people, they're strong in one category, but they're terrible in others. Okay. So that doesn't make you ready because you're strong in maybe one or two categories and you know where something is and you can be able to get somebody out of a jam. What about the 3-4 other things, though, that you still are very weak on when it comes, let's say, to just simple employee relations? You see, we've got people who they moved up very quickly. And I've seen from personal experience, just observation and so forth, where they ended up falling down very fast. I remember when there was an opportunity that was offered to me, but I knew my weaknesses. So you weren't going to see me fall. I simply said, no, I'm not ready. Some of us, we're just going to put ego in check and just tell the truth. No. Don't you want to be? No. So you don't need to look at me as a threat because I don't want that. And then for some of us, we've been there, done it, seen a movie, made our mistakes, had that slow climb back up again, and then got there and said, even though I'm at the top of my game, nope, I'm not interested. I don't want this as a career. You see. And that's smart. It's not stupid. It's not dumb. It's not dumb for turning away, a paycheck that is thousands and thousands of dollars, but you know that you don't have all of the tools and you don't feel equipped. And matter of fact, deep down within, you don't want to put those hours in. There's nothing wrong with that. But so many people want it all and they think they can manage it all. And then God will go ahead and allow them to fall flat on their face. And then they'll go, oh, okay, I guess this isn't for me. Yeah, because you did not want to put the ego in check to get the necessary training. You didn't want to put the ego in check to work on the issues that really matter. See, some folks, they'll spend all day decorating, rearranging, doing some easy tasks, things that they're confident in. But those challenges, they don't like to spend that type of time, especially the younger people. Oh, no. And they don't like to be called out on those things. And they don't like to receive any type of feedback that can correct them. You see, and you already know you're in trouble if you can't receive feedback on a basic level, a simple level. You already know you're in trouble when you can't stand dealing with people. Well, wait a minute. That's a job that requires dealing with people. Some folks, they think that they can calm their nerves a bit. And I came across this individual, and I've come across others like this person, younger, of course. They think that they can be able to calm the issues that they're dealing with on the inside by pursuing a leadership role. I think I'll be happy if I'm finally, and you fill in the blank, right? You may come across these people, or you've already come across, and you've tried to talk to them. You tried to reason with them. Can I just tell you something while you're in pursuit of your goals? Yes. You're going to need to work on, and you fill in the blank. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm fine. Oh, they're quick, right? Very quick to cut you off, shut you up. No, I'm good. And then they'll find a way to try to turn something around on you. Excuse me, I'm a grown woman now. Been here on this planet for quite some time. You don't need to try that little game with me, honey. What game am I playing? What game you're playing is that you don't appreciate me commenting on your weaknesses or, calling you out on something. So what you're going to do is you're going to nitpick, you're going to find fault. That is a sign of immaturity. You're not ready for leadership yet. Uh-oh. And we got some older people who do the same thing. You give them a 10-point checklist, or you give them some feedback on something that they done, bad decision making, and they want to call you out on the carpet and say, no, what you did is wrong. Oh, I don't think she's a good leader. I don't think she ever had this opportunity, that she did this, that, and the other. No, I tend to question some things about her. Of course, you're going to question a whole lot. You're going to be upset a bit, and you're going to try to cover up your upset by pointing out other people's issues. No, you're not ready to be a leader. Some folks actually got the leadership role, failed miserably at it. Now they're trying to go for another role that's going to take up time, money, and energy, because those that are very discerning will see they won't last 5 months in that role. An individual, this younger person, started talking to me about his future and what he wanted to do at an organization that we worked. And so, of course, me being one who likes to encourage folks, I said, okay, that sounds good. Now, I didn't pray about it at the time. I just simply said what anybody would say when you see a young person trying, right? Trying to make something of him or herself, right? And so, after careful observation, I noticed, I said, no, he's not ready. Not for a leadership role. And so when issues started to arise and he couldn't get any type of feedback, he came to me. And at that time, I was working a really simple job, and I was in nowhere in a position to make any type of leadership type of decisions. Not that I couldn't do it. It's just that at that particular time in my life, there was enough personal stress that I was going through, and I didn't want to be in a leadership role. But this individual was going to put me in that position by asking me questions to help him in his role. Basically, like that student who, you didn't do your homework, so you go over here and you want to copy people's papers. Okay. Now, in the workplace, it's totally acceptable to ask your peers, how would you handle a situation? But see, I'm not getting paid that money that young man was being paid. And so I had a limit of how much information I was going to give him. See, because you wanted this and you felt within that you were equipped to handle it. Okay. And so I went on, I gave him some advice, and all the advice that I gave him, he came back smiling. Thank you. I appreciate you. This work, that work. But then there come a point where I didn't have to say no to him when he had other issues that arise, because God set it up where he wasn't going to come to me and ask me anything, because I wasn't around on some of those days where those major challenges happened. And so before I knew it, I seen this frazzled young person that was in a position that was too big for his britches, on top of having to deal with other things that he hadn't considered that would cross over. Because you see, once a company knows that you know one position, it's kind of hard to get away from your old position. Come on, some of you all know with some of these companies, it's hard to get away from your old position when they know you did that one well, and now you're in your new position and you're not doing it so well because you got to keep going back to your old position. And then on top of that, you got some of these individuals who they want to do all things very quickly. I want to be the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. But you know that you're not a master of any of those, you see. You're not a master of any of them, but you're trying to balance them all out and pretend as if you've mastered them all. What is the motivator for people who do this? Money. Simply put, money. I'm going to go into this organization. I'm going to learn every single position. I'm going to ask all sorts of questions. I'm going to be cross-trained and retrained on this, that, and the other. You're going to fill that resume up. And then there's going to be this company that says, oh, she's the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Well, we're going to use her for this, this, and this. Next thing you know, you're in a dual role, maybe even a triple role. And sooner or later, you burn out, you implode, and now you're putting in your resignation letter. Uh-oh. See, when I see that there are those especially smaller companies that are good for, oh, well, we wear many hats. Nope, I'm not interested. See, because I've been through the fire with some of those companies. And then people start dropping off because they're wearing many hats too. And then you've got to wear their hats in addition to your hat and any other hats that they put upon you prior to those people leaving. And they expect you to manage it all, and they're not going to give you a pay increase. Okay, that's a red flag right there for someone who's considering on working somewhere where they say, in a very, very nice way, with a big old smile on their face, we wear many hats here. Okay, thank you. Then some folks say, oh, okay, well, fine. We wear many hats, as you say. You also are going to pay me much money for those hats. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Our budget only allots for, okay, gotta go. Bye-bye. See ya. And you see, when I see this sort of thing playing out with the upper management or with the middle managers, I'm just sitting back and I'm just watching a movie, so to speak. Doing my job, of course, but watching a movie. Because if the company has the support that it claims and all the tools and all the, all the money to pay for various activities, then I'm like, okay, great. But when I see people complaining and they're talking about, I'm wearing this and I'm wearing that hat and they're not supporting me here and there, and I'm hearing that whine, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to bail out. Because that tells me that even though there may be the opportunity to move up, the supports aren't there. And now these people are wearing all these different hats and they're expected to take 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish for a budget. But they're not Jesus. Matter of fact, many of them take on these roles without Jesus. And that's a whole nother story. Where is God in this plan? This one who has it all. So we talked about this when it comes to business. What about in one's personal life where one has it all? They wanted the house. Okay, we prayed about the house. They wanted the car. They got the car. They wanted a spouse. They got the spouse. They wanted the children. They got the children. And now you see them and they're not happy. They're miserable. Oh, all this stuff. It just costs so much. And I don't even have time for myself. Oh, and, I also got to listen to this spouse, tell me what she likes, what she doesn't like. And, it's just so much just to be in a relationship. And I just need my freedom. Okay, so then what did we do? In one particular situation, this individual, he looked depressed. He looked sad. We prayed. Even had the minister pray for him. And we asked for release for him. He didn't want the marriage. He didn't want to be even the dad. He was burnt out with that. Oh, been there, done it, seen a movie, because feedback was that he wasn't stepping up to the plate like he once had. There was some me going on, some selfishness. See, some folks, they're praying that marriages be restored and that, families come together and all of this when there's somebody in that group that doesn't want that. And that's why it's not working. I keep praying this prayer. I want, all of these things to be restored to this person. Well, did you ever think that maybe they don't want those things? Look at the frown on their face. So the car, it's gone. It was a relief. Now he's got more money to take care of other things. And then the wife, gone. And now he doesn't have to answer to her because maybe she was controlling. Maybe she had her share of issues and he didn't feel like playing counselor. And some folks, they'll look at this takeaway that's going on as a bad thing. Well, for some people, it's not a bad thing. As God is removing some things out of their lives because they no longer want them, they begin to start to smile again. or they begin to smile again. Okay? They're happy. It was too much. I don't ever want to be in that situation again. The man realizes marriage, not for me. Don't ever want to be in that. But then if he calls himself a Christian, you're not supposed to be having sex out of wedlock. Now that's going to come with his share of issues spiritually for that brother or for that sister in Christ who's doing it. Yeah, you may not want to be the husband or you don't want to be the wife, but you can't be running around here doing all these things. And some people say, well, who says? All I'm saying is you don't bring a holy God into your life and think that you're going to have smooth sailing now that some of those things have been cut away and you want to appease your flesh in some sinful practices. And people who have played that game, then we end up having to pray for their deliverance, for their healing, because they wanted to have it all in that way. The flesh wanted to have it all. And that became too much, you see. So they get the car, they get the house, they get all of these things that they think they need. And then they become overwhelmed by them. And then they're looking for somebody to bail them out. It's funny, there was an individual that I worked with. And this particular woman, she sat cushy in her position. But then as I got to know her, I realized from her conversations and her negative speech and the lack of positive feedback that people would give her, it was a customer service role, that she was not happy. But of course she had to put on a front. Why? Because when I came in, she had her thoughts. She had her ideas in terms of who I was. And you see some folks, they're so prideful, they're so prejudiced that they assume that you are that kind of person, whatever that kind is. Okay. And I picked up on some things. And when she realized, oh, I'm an educated, Black woman who is not exhibiting attitude, anger, and ghetto type of behavior at the workplace. Oh, I guess she's okay. But there was still a standoffishness about her. And so there were the customers who had complained about her attitude. And there were those minorities, more specifically, who picked up on some things. Because, hey, they say we're sensitive. Yeah, we're sensitive about prejudiced folks, okay? Prideful folks, racist folks. We're sensitive. Why? Because there's years and years of that foolishness. And, after a while, you become an expert. And so some of these minorities coming in, they picked up on that weirdness with her. So this business, though, of wanting it all, because I even asked her, do you want a different job or what have you? Well, I can't get one right now because this, that, and the other, okay? So it wasn't coming through for her. All of what she was praying for wasn't coming through. And while everybody else around her, including myself, was getting other opportunities and moving on with our lives, she was still stuck in her situation, watching us walk out the door. I came back for a visit and I seen that she had picked up more weight and she had still that little scowl on her face and she didn't look happy. Okay. Wanting it all, she's not in that season right now of all the blessings. And sometimes the drought season lasts longer because we've got those individuals who refuse to change their mindset, their attitude. Some of them, simply put, as I said before, they're not ready for it all because their attitude stinks. I mean, let's just be honest. If I keep waking up every day having an attitude and then I go over to a job and I got a scowl on my face and then I'm complaining about all the coworkers, and she did a lot of that, and all those coworkers who helped her in some form or another, they're no longer there, and they were decent workers. Some of them were above and beyond. Some of them did her job better than she could. But you don't have those helps no more. If you take on those type of negative attitudes day after day after day, you can't even get 10% of your all. Come on. So there is something said about changing one's mindset, their attitude. And then by doing that, then you begin to see these blessings, these manifold blessings, but can you handle them? See, I feel like this. Let's just pray about that one thing first. See how we do, and then we'll pray about that second thing. We don't need to pray about 50 different things all at once, because I have been known to see, as well as personally experience, a bunch of things hit me up all at once. And then I'm sorry, I prayed those things. I prayed for those things, all of them all at once. And some folks will say, well, why would God allow that? Once again, sometimes he's doing that to humble you, because it's your ego, it's your pride that gets in the way, that says, I can do it all. Oh, you can? So then there's the one opportunity, and then the next opportunity, and the next one. And you say, I need this and I need that. And the Lord, he just brings all of these different things to you, and I got to make a decision. And the Lord's like, okay, well, make the decision then, Miss. I think I can do everything. And so I found too that something always lacks when you want so much. So you may be very good in this one area, but then all these other areas you're going to slacken. You're going to not end up doing all that you can. That is going to make that organization better. We do have a limitation on our skill set. I know some people don't believe that. Well, I know 20, 30 different, 40, 50 plus different things. Yeah, but there's a limitation to how good you're going to be at each one of those activities, because the mind can only handle so much. Your personal life will only allow you to do but so much. There's only 8 to 10 plus hours in a day or more for the zealot. But then sooner or later you crash and burn, and you will give up something. Look at all those men who bragged about 50, 60 plus hours working a week. I did this, I did that. And you're not married any longer either. Oh, and you have shared custody, or maybe you don't have custody at all. But you got bragging rights to talk about all this work you did. But your relationship, it lacked. And your time with your children, it lacked. Your parenting skills were terrible. You see, I would keep my mouth shut about something like that. Oh, I worked so good, so well, and I put in hours, and you don't need to tell everybody all that, because we know that there was a sacrifice you had to make. And then there's some who they kept their families, yeah, but they got rocky relationships, whether it's a rocky relationship with the spouse or a rocky relationship with those children, because you're gone all the time. You see, something always lacks. So be careful asking for it all or saying, I can do it all. There was a young person, and I'm going to leave you with this experience. There was a young person who I was talking to, and she wanted to learn everything. She was like, well, do you know something about this, Nicole? I'm like, yeah, I know something about that. Oh, can you show me? Sure. And then another time, oh, do you know something about this? Yeah, I know something about that. Well, can you show me? Okay. And I said, wait a minute. I said, this woman is very eager to learn so many different things, but within such a short span of time. I wonder what her angle is, right? And so I found that there really wasn't an angle other than the fact that she said she gets bored easily. Okay, so I said, oh, okay. Because I still need my job. Hello. As for some of you all, you know how that goes, right? Wait a minute, you trying to take my job. But at the end of the day, most of the time, people aren't coming in to take your job. They're usually coming in to learn some things before they take your job. But there are those that are quite content, though. We have to always know, too, that there are those, though, that are quite content with whatever position that they have, and that they really aren't interested in your job. So it's okay every now and again to let them help you. And we got those who are quite insecure and nervous about that sort of thing. But anyway, she just basically said she would get bored. And she just wanted to learn different things. So that way, when her position was slow, she could be able to do other things. And that was totally understandable. That was one of my motivations for learning more than just the position that I got hired for. But then over time, as I saw with the other young person, there starts to be this attitude, and you're not doing as well as you should, and you're not stepping up to the plate like you once did when you were learning some things. And now the traffic is coming, and I could really use your help. But as long as things were slow, and so then that's when I realized, I said, I can only do but so much. in terms of showing a person. But the person on the inside has to be dedicated. They have to know that this is what they really want to do. And I realized that assistant is a great role, but for her, but to be in a leadership role, no. Because when push came to shove, she just, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I got this, I got that to do. Well, in a leadership role, I understand, but you got to be able to try as close as you possibly can to balance it all out. So you're going to be over here, you're going to be over there. You wanted to learn all these different things. And so your time is going to be divided at times. And there is going to be, as I said earlier, there's going to be some areas where you're not going to be so good. And so you shake it off and you move on. You don't start being all critical of everyone who showed you something. And, you know, it's these sorts of things. And I said, you know, what I observed, of course, in a fun and a cool way. And I broke some things down, and I didn't do it all at once or on the same day. But as things would come up, I would just say, you know, yeah, I mean, you got to be here and you got to be there sometime. Now, I don't know if she's still in her spot, but I'll tell you that I'm not in that particular position I was in any longer. Like I said, you get to a point where you don't want to be all things in every organization, because folks aren't going to pay you what you're worth. You take on a role, and when they got those general statements, you make them explain to you specifically what am I going to do in that spot. And then if they say, well, this is what you're going to do, blah, 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 and it's about 5 or 10 more things on top of what you're doing, you're going to have to negotiate a higher salary if you want to feel good about being there, and you want to make sure that your personal goals are met at home and elsewhere. But the resentment kicks in because you got that one that wants to learn everything, but doesn't get paid accordingly and stays in a position for quite some time and is looking for the opportunity, and it never comes. Okay? It never comes. So if you want to have it all, you got to be prepared for the pros, the cons, the highs, the lows. But I personally don't suggest that the people of God go after all. You go after what God wants you to go after. Okay? What is it, Lord, that you will have me to do? And God will do just that. Well, blessings to you. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment.